Today we are going to get soaring, and by soaring I mean flying, because we've been able to fly up to this point, but we're limited to only flying really in our base and for a short duration away from the base. That's going to change today, because I just realized that the Just Dire Things gear has the flying module, and it's actually not that bad at this point to craft. It just means one thing, and you're going to have to bear with me on this. We have to make HDPE sheets, and well, it's been a little bit since I've made these, but I will say that it's not that difficult of a process. I think requiring, with the least amount of effort, about 4 machines. Now, these 4 machines are going to consist of a crusher, a pressurized reaction chamber, and also a rotary condensator. And then we also have to keep in mind we are going to need an electrolytic separator, which is going to require water and separate the water into hydrogen and oxygen. Now, the way that I want to go about actually handling those different chemicals is actually with Applied Energistics. And I've not used this mod a whole lot, but there is Applied Mechanistics in here, which is just like it sounds. It allows us to store chemicals within Applied Energistics and kind of use them with the mod. Specifically with the storage of chemicals. For example, the hydrogen, which is a gas, and oxygen, which is a gas. Now, I should be able to do this by making some basic 1K chemical storages. And so these 1Ks are going to go into a separate drive. But first, I do want to program these and say what they are storing. And this is where I can go into Mekanism, and I can say oxygen, or any of the chemicals. And I think one of the best ways of doing this is actually doing like the electrolytic separator, right? We find this and we see what uses it has. And we go in and we find the one for water, which has hydrogen and oxygen, and we can actually hit A while hovering over those. And that way we store the exact thing over here. And we can, for example, drag hydrogen into this storage cell, and now that's locked to hydrogen. And for example, this cell will be locked into oxygen. That's a pretty good way of setting these. And then we just place them, for example, into this extended ME drive, which by the way is like 2 of the single drives. And we can just place this in here, just like so. Look at that. And now we're ready to start putting these gases in here. And I'm assuming we do that with just a regular importer. Now, another great way of handling fluids and the gases from Mekanism is using the quantum entangle porters. That's like a block that can store and allow you to access them from cross dimension and from location to location. And they're pretty good too. They actually have auto export functionalities. Now, I'm basically doing this because I want to try out this mod. I don't normally get the chance to do that because I typically like to use those other methods. But let's go ahead and try this, right? We need an exporter on the bottom here, and we need to send an input, and we can move this around fluids. We can also lock this for these machines. And the fluid one, we just need to worry about the fluid config. So if you're underneath a separate one, you can see here, all sides are input, which is good because the bottom is actually where I'm going to put my export bus. And I'm going to use this to send water because this is the main thing that this machine needs. And we're going to pull that directly out of our water cell and should be able to keep that nice and filled. Now, as far as receiving the outputs are underneath the chemical tab, and we have the blue here. Hopefully you're not colorblind because you won't be able to see these very well, but the output on the left is the output 1, which is the one on the left, and the one on the right is output for the right, which is cyan. So both of these are going to be separate. Unfortunately, you can't put them under the same thing, so we're going to need 2 separate import buses, one on this side and one on this side. And then we can just connect these all together. And yes, this is going to utilize a few channels, right? This machine alone is utilizing 3 channels technically. But once everything's hooked up, we should notice that the water is going in just like that. And it'll start to get faster and faster, by the way, which is how the pipes work. But you'll notice this right here is filling up and is ascending. Now, this is what we kind of want to see. And we want this to constantly stay running, but also not at the same time. Just kind of depends on what we're working on. And what we can do is we can look over here, and we can see that these are now filling up with their appropriate amounts, which is exactly what we need. So that way we can use our Applied Energistics system to send this around. So now that we have that running, we can set this to dumping excess. So that way, if the disks build up, this will still remain running. And for the sake of my ears and not needing to worry about muting them inside of this screen for every machine, I think I'll go ahead and utilize these upgrades. So by tossing them in, there we go. We now have the maximum 1 muffling upgrade. So now for the fun part of actually making the sheets, configuring the machines. And this right here is a very compact way of making HDPE sheets. So first step, we need to get some produce into the crusher and get it crushed up to make biofuel. And the way we do this is I'm going to have an input in the top, and I went ahead and cleared all of the sides. And I wanted to auto output the crushed material by making sure auto eject is on. I want that to go into the PRC. So the PRC is going to need some more things, but let's first get this set up, and I'm going to do that by using an entangled block, and I'm just going to send seeds here that is being produced from our farm. And so I'm going to make sure to connect to the bottom here, and let's go ahead and link that to our barrel that has all of our resources in it. And all of our resources are right here in this one barrel. So we have a ton of different things in there that we could use. Right now, I think seeds are the most, the thing we have the most of, so it makes a lot of sense to have that set up in there. And we can use any wrench. I can put this into wrench mode, I think, and that allows it to work. Perfect. Now this is just going to start sending everything out of that barrel. I don't want that to be the case. So I'm going to put a filter in here, and I'm going to go seeds, and we're going to drag and add that. And now we have a whitelist that is only going to allow seeds in here. Yes, we are going to need some power, and I've already put the muffling upgrades in here, by the way. Now the next machine, the pressurized reaction chamber, yes, where things get a little bit more complicated, and this is where we're actually going to be making the substrate. So we need hydrogen and water for this. So hydrogen and water, these are both on separate input lines. You can see right here, they're both on inputs. And we should be able to input both of them, I believe, into the same place. So let's go ahead and try that. We just need one exporter for this. And if that's the case, then we won't have to use too many channels here. So if we do this, and we need, let's say, hydrogen, right? Let's say we need water and hydrogen. We should be able to put that on that cable and then just connect up like so. And with that, we'll see hopefully hydrogen build up in here. If not, we're going to have hydrogen on a separate exporter. I think we do, however, have to have this set to round robin. Yes, export round robin mode. It doesn't look like that. Let's go under gases and make sure gases is input. There we go. So I just had to make sure that we had an input for the gases. Beautiful. So that is working. But this right here is also generating our substrate, which we now want under item config. Let's go ahead and clear the, we'll make sure the item in the back is set right here to output, because we don't want to actually send the substrate into the rotary condensator. Instead, I'm going to use that for something else. What we are going to do, though, is import into our main system. So we'll take that one product, and we'll go ahead and send it back here, and we'll make sure to tap our cable in. And this is going to just store it in our system. It's going to store that substrate in our system. And what we could do is later on down the road, we will be able to export that item. But we have to deal with something right now, and that is ethylene. So ethylene is something that I want to actually store, but not in the way that you might be thinking. So I do want to store it into this machine, but this machine also produces an excess amount whenever we send it into this machine. And it can actually clog it up if you utilize the setup that I'm about to do. But if we are storing it inside of a chemical disk, we probably won't have to worry about that issue anymore. So on the importer here, I also want ethylene to be considered an import, and I want it to be stored as well in a chemical disk. And then I will go ahead and send it here, because I don't want this chemical automatically ejecting. I don't want that to happen. I want this to be pulling. Now this next part with ethylene handling shouldn't be this hard, but I not only tried it with the fluid cell using an overflow destruction card, but I also tried it with the chemical, and both say incompatible with cell. And I did try it with a regular cell. It doesn't give me this message. So I'm assuming that this overflow destruction card does not work with liquid ethylene or the liquid cards, and also doesn't work with the chem cards, which is kind of unfortunate, meaning that I need to handle our gassing ethylene a little bit differently, because you do end up with an overflow that will block this system up if you do not handle this correctly. So how am I going to now handle this? So the PRC right here is producing ethylene, which is being sent into the rotary condensator. This I want to stop. So instead, what I want to do is I want to use Applied Energistics to then use a bus, a storage bus, And if this is not going to work, we should use a chemical tank, and I'll just have a storage bus specifically designed to only send to this chemical tank right here. And what we'll do is we'll put the storage bus on it. And because we can handle the ethylene, we can go ahead and drag ethylene into here. And in this case, what I want to do is I want the output of our gases from our ethylene. I want this to be an output here. So this should auto eject and should be able to be collected inside of our bus. And then the only place for it to go should be this storage bus right here. We can set this to like a higher priority to make sure it always goes in here. And then we want to make sure this is set to dumping excess, so we don't end up with that problem. Cool part about these chemical tanks, though, is they also have an output. So inside of our rotary condensator, let's go ahead and set this as an input for our chemicals. And then our output is going to be the same. It's going to we're going to have it set to auto output under fluids to our next machine over here, which is perfect. We do not want it to output to the bottom. This will not select fluids. Okay, so with all of that, hopefully you're following, because it does get kind of complicated, but I'm trying my best to explain it, running into also issues that I'm needing to solve along the way. So with the applied mechanistics, this should fill now up with ethylene and then dump excess, because we're only going to be using 50% of the ethylene we produce per biofuel processing, and in the final output. So we'll end up with like 50 reserve every crafting operation. And like I said, that would cause a backup. So let's actually get some gates on here, so that way we can see this actually happening. So on these basic machines here, that's producing that. That's going in here, and this should produce ethylene. The ethylene should go into this chemical tank and then should go into here. So we see that it does go somewhere, and we do not have the chemicals set, or should not have the chemicals set to output here. If I remove that, let's make sure that this actually goes somewhere. There it goes. It should have went into the tank. And then the tank, by the way, we should have the rotary set to output, and we need auto eject on. So there it went. And it ended up getting auto push. That's another nice thing about the chemical tanks. They can push fluids and gases. Or sorry, not fluids, just gases. And now that is processing, and we have it set to the normal mode under condensator. It's going to take the gas and turn it into a liquid. That liquid then needs to go to the PRC. So this is the most complicated part actually out of the way. So now the only thing we need to handle is sending the oxygen to the reaction chamber, and also sending our item right here that we're producing, which is the substrate. So we just need an export bus. I'm going to place that onto the bottom here. And in the export bus, we will say, hey, substrate, and then oxygen. Make sure this is set to round robin. And then we just got to make sure in the machine settings that underneath our chemical tab, our input can be set up here. So we should be able to accept chemicals from the bottom. Once this is connected, let's go ahead and get our cable over here. There we go. That should receive oxygen from our storage disk. And then as far as items go, we need to make sure underneath the item tab that the input is set up here as well. So that is now ready to go, and now has substrate and also has liquid ethylene and oxygen. And if all is said and done, this should be taking liquid ethylene, oxygen. Once it has enough, 50 and 10, it should be making HDPE pellets. We just need to give it a little bit of power. There we go. And so that is being produced. And now the pellets alone are not anything crazy that we're going to need. What we really need is the sheets, and that's where they get used the most. And specifically for our flight upgrade. This is probably one of the most challenging parts of the flight upgrade to actually make. So there we go. We have those, and we just need to tell the machine, hey, output the items automatically next door. And so we'll set it to output, auto eject on, and then we want to accept the output into the enrichment chamber, and that will then produce the sheets we need. That's beautiful. Okay, so that's just about done. We've got basically everything done. We just need an import to accept these items and have them stored into a cell. Actually, you know what? I don't want to store them into a cell. I actually want the HDPE sheets to be stored down inside of our storage network. This is the nice part about this, is we can just place any old item just in here that we want to store in bulk, and it will just make sure to automatically place it in there. And beautiful. That's looking pretty darn good. Now back in here, the only thing we have left to do is to just speed this up and get our importer in. And that's going to be it. Import. Also make sure that output is set up, and that should be pulling in. I don't even think it needs to be set on auto output, technically. Output there. We just got to hook the cable up. And there we go. So that's being pulled in, and we should now see that in our storage. Ah, beautiful. Now, just in case you're like, why would you set all of that up just for a simple flight upgrade when you could have just done it by hand? Well, let me kind of also show you some other useful things for the HDPE sheets. So they have some other custom recipes in this pack. For one, solar panels. So the solar panels are absolutely insane. So these produce, just one of them produces 14,000 FE per tick, just one. And we have an unlimited day dimension, making these insanely powerful, like incredibly powerful. And so they are just a direct upgrade of a prior, right? And so each one of these is going to require an HDPE sheet outside of just this one upgrade. Now, something else you may note, this upgrade right here only works in the top tier gear from Just Dire Things, which means we're going to have to work on that. All of this other stuff we technically have, except for the Wilden Mastery. This we have to kill the Wilden, which honestly, at this point, is going to be very, very easy. Also, I kind of love this. The Wandering Trader is right here, and he's offering the hither tither wand. Ah, yes, neither hither or tither. Here's the wand. I love this thing, and it just needs some emeralds. You know what? I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it for here. Like this is a wand that has the portal like built right into it, right? Also, do I need to give it anything else? Is it like 2 emeralds? Yeah, it requires emeralds in both slots. That's actually kind of hilarious. I wonder how this works. Like I don't think I've ever used the portal, but we do have the portal scroll available to us. I just don't know how it works. Okay, I guess you shift right click to create the portal. So I'm able to create a portal. I'm actually not sure how I casted this. I put my spells on, and now I have 2 portals. Oh my god! Don't do that! Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, you can make 2 portals. A portal that's here and a portal that's there, and just don't do this! Okay, too close together. Get it. Understood. Ah, I see. So it's a portal here. I placed one down, and then it's looking for the other bound portal. We hit that there, and now I can go boop, and I'm through the portal. Interesting. And I'm assuming they last that time period. Like it looks like they only stay open for like 2 minutes or so. But there are unlimited portal frames that should last forever. This is kind of a cool thing to get. I wish I would have got this earlier. Now, for doing the Wilden Chimera fight, the best place is probably going to be out in the open in the unlimited day dimension. Now, to do this, we are going to need a few things. You're going to need all of the 3 drops from all of the Wilden stuff from Ars Nouveau. And I'll just click this on here, and then you right-click the items onto here that you want to create the boss. And then before we do this, let's actually go ahead and prep ourselves up with some spells, just to make sure we're extra fortified, and then we summon the boss. Oh boy, and I'm almost positive that we're going to be able to destroy this with just our spells alone. I'm pretty excited about this. Okay, and here it goes. Let's see how well the tentacles do against the Wilden Chimera. I'm going to run. Just stay in there, man. You're good. You're good. Nope. Just come back. That's hilarious. We just have it run through there, and that should be more than fine. Yes. Now, once it gets to a certain health level, that's when it is going to change phase. Oh, maybe not. Or we're not there, maybe? All right, let's make sure we have oak skin. Let's fire some charge balls at it. That does a pretty good job, honestly. Ah, there it goes. This one's honestly kind of scary. It shoots spikes, and these spikes deal some damage, man. Just make sure to stay away from it and avoid it, and we should be good. Also, by the way, it's invincible during that phase. No, let's get out of here. Oh, charge. Oak skin. Fortify. It like knocks off your effects too, by the way. Just in case you didn't know or notice what was happening there. Oh, the music's too good too. You gotta love the boss battle. All right, here we are. We're hitting the next phase. And this boy can fly. Oh no. And get out of the way. Okay. Yep. Let's stand by the shield. That should also protect us, I hope. Especially during this phase. Because this guy hurts, man. All right, he should be coming back. There we go. Make sure we're oak skinned. Oh, he's gonna jump down at us. Right at us too. Dang. And it knocks off all of our abilities. Okay. Oh, I think we got him stuck. Time to attack. Oh, the shield. It's stuck on the shield. That's hilarious. Yes. You gotta love just completely destroying a boss with fancier spells and not actually using the mod that was intended to fight it with. But there's the item we get, and it's the Wilden Tribute. That's hilarious. I think that was one of the best ways I have fought this thing. Well, outside of just spawning it in and completely destroying it with a mob crusher. That's a different story. Now, thankfully, I already have all of these set up, which we're going to need one of each, I do believe, of all the different essences, and including a new one, which is the Animania essence, which requires gold, a wither skeleton skull, and bone meal. And now we have all of them. So all of these need to get placed in, just like so, and then the final thing is going to be our Wilden, which goes right in the middle. And I think we also need source in our source jar. Yes, and it will consume basically the entire source jar. But that gets automatically refilled over here, ready to craft more things. Beautiful. We are already almost to that flight module, and I feel like that's going to be such a major upgrade, having flight everywhere. So now, after making the lesser air focus, by the way, if you want to know a trick for making these, just take this setup and break this and just replace it with an imbuement chamber on top, and voila, there's all of your platforms and everything ready to go. So you can hot swap this. Just keep in mind the imbuement is something that where the items don't get consumed, whereas the apparatus does. But this next thing we're going to be working on is just by placing this on here, and I believe it, or is the other way around? It might be the other way around, right? This on here and then this in the center. There we go. And so that's going to consume half of that. And voila, this is the item that's required for our flight. So that is going to be the focus of air. Makes perfect sense. Now the next part is going to require, well, the demon dream seeds from occultism. You find this just from breaking grass. I need to bone meal a few of these because I'm going to need the demon fish. Sorry, it does look a lot like a fish, but no, it's a fruit. The demon fruit, I just love to call it a fish. And all we have to do for this to get the feathers is toss one of these on the ground and then click it with flint and steel, and that creates the spirit fire. So that is basically it. We just need to toss feathers in here. That's pretty straightforward. Boop and boop. Perfect. And then I'll put that out because we'll work on this potentially later. But for right now, that's just simply what we need to get this up and running. Now, the hardest part, I think, about this outside of the HDPE sheets is probably just getting the lightning in a bottle, because we are going to need 8 times 8 of these bottles, so a full stack of lightning O bottles, or bottle O lightning. Yeah, there we go. Now, to get all of those bottles, I need to capture myself a creeper, and then we're going to have to torture it a little bit. It feels really weird saying that, but honestly, that is exactly what we're going to be doing to it. So perfect. Right here are some creepers. So I'll just take this one home with me and get out of here. Now, what I need to do with this creeper is spawn it in this glass chamber. So perfect. I've got the creeper spawned in here, and this is where things are going to get interesting. We need to charge the creeper. And I don't want it to die. So let's get a bucket of water just to make sure that it doesn't die from lightning damage. And so we'll make sure to fill that quickly and also pull the water back out, hopefully without the creeper having any damage. And we need a charged snowball. So one charge snowball should get the job done. And I will activate this. Ow. Hurt myself in the process. And then in my book, I have a heal spell. So I just need to use that to keep the creeper healed. So just like so. And I also need some bottles, because each time that we grab a bottle of lightning with these bottles, it's going to hurt the creeper. So when I grab that, notice it takes damage, but if I use the heal spell, I can heal it all the way back up to full. And I need to keep doing this until I have 64 lightning bottles. So after a little bit of farming, there we go. That is 64. That is just enough. And you know what? Let's go ahead and use a creature catcher to pick them back up. But in its charged state. Very scary. But you know, just like that, I now have both of the runes. We just need to make the blank ones. There we go. And both of those are made. Lightning orbs, and I'll tell you what, the Drigme significantly made this easier. Because without the Drigmes, it is a pain to find these rune stones, by the way. It is just an absolute pain to farm these. And now at this point, I think I have everything. We just need to make sure to use our Elytra and craft the HDPE reinforced version. And voila, we have the upgrade Blight. That is honestly huge, but we still don't have the gear yet, so we should probably craft that. Or at least one piece of the gear, right? Because one piece of the gear is what we need, is just the chest piece, because it's going to be kind of hard to lose out on all of this extra stuff from iron spells. For example, we will be losing out on a bunch of mana if I was to swap all this gear out. And it's not as bad, for example, for Ars, but man, for iron spells, that would completely destroy the use of iron spells, which is kind of unfortunate. Now, what's awesome is we already have an Eclipse alloy template, and we actually got this via the quest, which has been very, very nice. And so I don't even need a whole lot to actually upgrade this. We can go ahead and make a chest piece from the Celesti gem, since that's super easy and cheap to make, and I can just simply only make 2 of these, right? 2 of the Eclipse alloys, and we should be able to get there. Now, the Eclipse alloy, believe it or not, we should have. This is a part of Just Dire's Things next goo, and we already took down the Warden. We just need to go grab a Skulk Shrieker, and we already have the Echo Shards, so we should be good. And we also looks like we need to grab some Skulk. Now, for grabbing that Skulk stuff, we should be able to use a, let's see, a projectile, break, extract, and also item pickup. That should be Silk Touch. And we just need to, well, find a place to do this. Looks like there's a cave creeper right there. Yeah, there's already Skulk, which we can pick up. And I don't think we need these, but it might be good. Yeah, I definitely need 4 Skulk for this. And perfect, right here are the Shriekers. So we can grab that Shrieker. And that one. Perfect. And I think at this point we should be able to get out of here. And beautiful Shadow Pulse goo, leading us into the next tier of the Just Dire Things saga. Oh, it's so nice. Now, the Shadow Pulse goo is going to be used on netherite blocks, like solid blocks of netherite, which is what it's going to take to do this. Thankfully, we do have quite a bit of netherite scrap that's built up, and I could always go out and use the digital miner inside of a dimension for this. Now, what do we need for this? Skulk? I didn't actually grab enough Skulk, did I? It looks like Skulk blocks or the actual Skulk itself. Uh-oh. Okay, so we actually do have some Skulk Catalyst, so I could actually just use Skulk Catalyst, and that will charge that up. That's perfect. And now for the netherite block. Oh, man. Perfect. Now, I think the best way to utilize this, right, is to have this farmed. And if we turn off shaders, we'll see the actual conversion happen. And it happens really, really fast. But I think it's best to silk touch this, right? And then put it into the crusher. And we should get more out of it, like as a guarantee. I think that's how that works. It should. I should be able to silk touch it with the same spell. Like this, and we grab this, and if I take a look here, yes, this is a guaranteed 4 out of it, where this is a 3, So it's definitely better to put it into our crusher. So into the crusher it goes. Oh, that's the wrong place, right? That's the crushing factory. Is that not? Oh no, enrichment. Enrichment. That's where it needs to go. Not crusher. Beautiful. Okay, so that then needs to be smelted. So into the smelting factory it goes. And now we have the Eclipse alloy that we need, and this should allow us to upgrade our smithing template and duplicate them. And then use that smithing template to upgrade our base chest piece here. Oh, that's fantastic. So now the chest piece goes in here, and I think the template in here. Oh, and do we need another piece in here as well? I think that's the case, right? Yes, it does need 3 technically. So one more, because these are very expensive, right? An entire block of netherite. But that right there is a solid piece of gear. And so the first thing I want to put on it is the flight upgrade. And now with the flight upgrade, we should be ready to go. And with this on my chest, I know we have this going, but I do want to go ahead and turn this off. So I can actually just break this, I think. Now the flight ritual is gone. It did refresh, but we should now have flight that is separate from this flight. So now after dispelling that, I have flight. Wait. But I'm just being given Ars flight. That's weird. Interesting. So maybe my ritual is kind of bugged, or I'll have to figure something else out. I did break that ritual, so it shouldn't be giving me that anymore, flight there. But I am just flying now, and no effects are showing up, and I am in a separate area. That is exactly what I wanted. So now we can fly anywhere we want, and we don't have to worry about a thing. Carefree. Now, it does seem like the Ars flight is a little bit bugged out. I have no idea why. The ritual is gone, and I even restarted the pack. But I did want to show, when upgrading gear, definitely utilize the Atomic Reconstructor and the Lens of Disenchanting. This thing is so nice, because I can just simply toss a book, toss my robe in, and then hit it, and then bam, it's going to remove the top enchant. For example, the next one it's going to remove is going to be the Protection. And so I can just use this to help me swap my gear over. Oh, it's so nice. Now, for those of you who like to keep your gear sets looking the same, well, you can actually do that. Now, we are wearing the Battle Mage set right now, and I've transferred over my enchants. But let's say I wanted to wear something else. So there's a lot of really cool armor sets, by the way, that are within Iron Spells. And you may not want the effects that they give off. For example, the Holy, right? You may not want this, but it's an easy one to make. But it's honestly a really cool looking armor set. So, I mean, definitely make it, right? So let's go ahead and see what we can do with this. So the preset is pretty darn cool looking. And if we put this on, we can exchange this and we can see this is what it actually looks like. Pretty cool, pretty cool. But if we wanted to transmog, for example, our chest piece to this, well, to do that, we'd have to place down the transmogrification table, which is another little pretty cool thing. And then what we should be able to do is change out the way this looks. And I think we need amethyst to do this. Yes, amethyst goes in here, keeps it charged, and we put the item in that we want to transmog into the left slot, and then transmog it to should be on the right slot, and we'll notice that it should display priest robes when equipped. Now, it's not going to change what the item looks like in the left, but now it looks like we're wearing the priest robe, even though we're not. Now, this transmog stuff is super duper cool. I mean, you can even become a pothead. I mean, it's pretty cool. Yeah, you could even equip items like onto, for example, your head slot. Now, I was wondering if this would work. I was like, is there a way to actually hide something and make it actually not appear? And yes, there 100% is. You can, for example, take the void fragment, and whenever you apply that onto your gear, you're going to end up getting this effect called hidden item. So definitely worth applying a void fragment if you, for example, don't want something to show up on my head, which is what I was having a problem with because I really love this Cryomancer set. I just don't like the Cryomancer hood, as the hood covers my face, and I typically like to see myself in the game. So yeah, I can now change all of my stuff, for example, to fit this. So my boots can now look like boots, and my pants can look like the pants. And the Cryomancer chess piece is absolutely adorable, as it does have a snow fox on it, which all of this combined looks like this. That's so cute, even though I think the snow fox is absolutely dead. And you know what? I'm not losing out 100%, by the way, on this. It does say plus 75 max mana when worn. That is actually nothing to do with the iron spells. But if we imbue this, like, it does say that this has the 25 max mana and 5 spell power and 10% ice spell power. But I think that's actually showing what it's imbued with, like what we actually transmogged it to. I don't think those stats actually carry over to this. But if we, for example, use these arcane runes, which are relatively cheap to make, I should be able to increase our max mana back up, and we can apply at least 3 of these onto here. The only unfortunate thing is we're going to lose out on a little bit, and I mean a little bit, of our mana or strength. We had 5%, I think, spell power that was on our other set of gear. But yeah, this is going to get our mana back up, and should be a lot better. Yeah, we're actually 25 mana higher than we were. We just lose out on a little bit of cooldown. You know what? I can't decide. Once I start playing around with this stuff, I just can't decide. But the Scarecrow set actually looks a lot cooler and fits in with our theme a whole lot better. So you know what? I'm going to stick with the Scarecrow set. It looks pretty cool as well. But I think now that's going to be it for today's episode. There's a lot more to kind of explore with Just Dire Things, including the higher tier pickaxe, like upgrading our pickaxe to the next tier, getting access to some crazy new upgrades like insta-break abilities, and the most insane X-ray you've ever seen. So bad it feels like you're absolutely using a hacked client. But that will have to wait for another episode. As today, that is going to be all. And I hope you guys did enjoy today's episode. Hopefully you learned something new, whether it was about how to make HDPE sheets, or about any of the new Just Dire Things, or the Transmogs. The Transmogs are kind of cool. So let me know down in the comments below, what's your favorite, and what's your favorite Irons suit, like actual armor set? I would love to hear from you down in the comments below. And with that being said, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go on to Fimus. I hope I said that right. Fimus, thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting in one of the best ways possible. Without you guys, this just wouldn't be possible, and I really do appreciate every single one of you. And also those of you who are watching, because without you watching, well, no videos actually would probably happen. So I do appreciate you guys very, very much. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Bye!